Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to learn about permanent maxillary first molar. Permanent maxillary first molar is the largest and the strongest teeth. It has 3 roots, 2 buccal and 1 lingual root. It has no succarianous teeth, meaning all the permanent tooth replaces the primary teeth except for the molars. They arise from a separate tooth germ from the dental lamina, and both the development, histogenesis and morphogenesis takes place in utero, and the initial calcification starts at birth. So it does not have a succarianous teeth. Because of the wide occlusal surface, it mainly helps in grinding of the food and also helps in maintaining the vertical dimension between the maxillary and mandibular arch, and also serves as a keystone of occlusion. Among the 3 molars, as the teeth proceeds posteriorly, the size of the molar tends to decrease. There, the maxillary first molar is the largest and maxillary third molar is the smallest among the 3 molars. Based on FDA numbering system, right maxillary molar, the number is given as 1-6, and the left maxillary molar is given as 2-6, and the eruption takes place at 6 years of life, and the root completion occurs at 9 to 10 years. This is a cervical line, and this is the occlusal surface. The cervico-occlusal dimension of the crown is roughly 7.5 mm, and this is the mesial aspect, and this is the distal aspect. The mesio-distal dimension at the crown, it is 10 mm, and at the cervix, it is 8 mm. This is the buccal surface, and this is the lingual surface. The buccolingual dimension at the crown, it is 11 mm, and at the cervix, it is 10 mm. This is the cervical line mesially and distally. How to measure the curvature of the cervical line? We have to draw an imaginary line running from the buccal lingual aspect, and the midpoint, from the midpoint of this imaginary line, a line has to be drawn to the maximum convexity of the cervical line. This gives the measurement of the curvature of the cervical line. So in curvature of the cervical line, in the mesial aspect, it is 1 mm, and in the distal aspect, it is 0. And in the occlusal aspect, you can appreciate 4 well-developed cusps and 1 accessory cusp. We'll be seeing in detail later. So as we already saw, that maxillary first molar has 3 roots. That is the mesiobuccal root, distobuccal root, and the palatal root. The palatal root is long and slender, and the mesiobuccal root is broader and curves distally, and the distobuccal root is narrow at the base and almost straight. The 2 buccal roots are of same height when compared to the palatal root, which is the largest, longest root. And the level of bifurcation is closer toward the cervical line mesially. This is the buccal aspect of the maxillary first molar. From the buccal view, the crown is roughly trapezoidal in shape. This is the mesial aspect, and this is the distal aspect. The mesial aspect, the crown is roughly straight in outline and gradually have convexity in the occlusal third, and the distal surface is almost convex and has maximum convexity in the middle third of the crown. We know that there are 3 thirds. It is occlusal third, middle third, and cervical third. Similarly, the root is also divided as cervical third, middle third, and apical third. So in the buccal surface, we can appreciate 2 cusps. That is the mesiobuccal cusp and the distobuccal cusp. Between the 2 cusps, there is a developmental groove, which is known as a buccal developmental groove. It runs from the occlusal surface and ends in the middle third of the crown. Similar to canine and the premolar, each cusp has mesial slope and a distal slope. Mesial slope and a distal slope. The mesial, in the mesiobuccal cusp, these 2 slopes form an obtuse angle, and the distobuccal cusp, it forms almost right angles. And from the buccal aspect, we can appreciate 3 roots, which shows distal inclination. This is the lingual surface of the tooth. This is the mesial aspect, and this is the distal aspect. In the distal aspect of, in the lingual aspect also, we can appreciate 2 cusps. There is the mesiolingual cusp and the distolingual cusp. The mesiolingual cusp is the largest among the 2, and it occupies 3/5 the mesiodistal width of the tooth, and the remaining 2/5 of the mesiodistal width is occupied by the distolingual cusp. Between these two cusps also, there is a developmental groove which runs from the occlusal surface and ends in the junction of the middle and the occlusal third, which is known as a lingual developmental groove. Apart from that, we can also appreciate an accessory cusp which is present in the lingual surface. It is also known as cusp of Carabelli. It is approximately 1.5 mm cervical to the mesiolingual cuspal tip. An irregular developmental groove separates this fifth cusp from the mesiolingual cusp. In the mesial aspect, this is the buccal surface and this is the lingual surface. So the mesial marginal ridge, this is the mesial marginal ridge and it is almost straight and it is located at 1/5 the height of the tip of the cusp. The cervical line curves occlusally about 1 mm, which we have already seen, and the lingual surface is almost convex and has maximum convexity in the middle third, and the buccal surface is convex only in the cervical third and then it runs straight. So maximum convexity is present at the cervical third. And this is from the mesial aspect, we can appreciate the mesiobuccal and the palatal root. The mesiobuccal root is wider buccolingually when compared to the palatal root. Also, in the mesial aspect, the buccolingual dimension is greater when compared to the distal aspects. So where we can appreciate that as the intercuspal distance of the two mesial cusps is only half the buccolingual dimension of the crown. The mesial contact area is located in the occlusal 1/3. And also the lingual and mesiobuccal roots are same, which we have already discussed. So in the distal aspect, we can appreciate three roots. That is the palatal, distobuccal, and the mesiobuccal. As mesiobuccal root is largest, we can appreciate this in the distal view also. And the cervical line is almost 0. And the distal marginal ridge is more pointy and it points towards the cervical line. Convex and it's more convex and its convexity points towards the cervical line. And portions of occlusal surface can be viewed from the distal surface of the tooth. Next, coming to the occlusal surface. Occlusal surface is roughly rhomboidal in outline with mesial and lingual measurements. This is the mesial and the lingual measurements being greater than the buccal and the distal measurements. There are 4 well-developed cusps and 1/5 accessory cusp can be noted, which is not always seen. So among the 4 well-developed cusps, mesiolingual cusp is the largest among the 4, followed by mesiobuccal cusp and then distobuccal and followed by the distolingual cusp. So both the largest and the smallest cusp lie in the lingual surface. That is, the mesiolingual is the largest and the distolingual is the smallest cusp. Next, we are going to see about the ridges in the occlusal surface of maxillary first molar. What are ridges? Ridges are linear elevations. We know that in a single cusp, there is a triangular ridge which is formed by the union of the 3 surfaces, the mesial slope and the distal slope, and which unites to form a linear elevation which is known as a triangular ridge. When this triangular ridge of the mesiobuccal cusp is in continuous with the triangular ridge of the opposing cusp, it forms a transverse ridge. From the mesiolingual cusp, there is a mesial ridge and a distal ridge. The mesial ridge unites with the triangular ridge which is present in the mesiobuccal cusp and forms a transverse ridge, and the distal ridge continues with the triangular ridge of the distobuccal cusp and crosses obliquely in the occlusal surface, and this forms a oblique ridge. Because of its oblique nature, it is known as oblique ridge. So there is a transverse ridge and there is an oblique ridge. Apart from that, there is a mesial marginal ridge and a distal marginal ridge. So there are 4 main ridges that we can appreciate in the maxillary molar. And there are 4 fossas. Fossas are shallow depressions. Keeping the oblique ridge as center, mesial to the oblique ridge, there is a triangular shallow depression, which is known as central fossa. And distally, we can appreciate a linear fossa, which is known as distal fossa. Other two minor fossas include mesial triangular fossa and distal triangular fossa. Mesial triangular fossa is distal to the mesial marginal ridge, and distal triangular fossa is mesial to the distal marginal ridge. So there are four fossas: central fossa, distal fossa, mesial triangular fossa, and distal triangular fossa. And there are 6 developmental grooves. There is a central developmental groove which is running from the central pit to the mesial triangular fossa, and a buccal developmental groove extending from the central pit and to the buccal surface. And next is a distal oblique groove which runs from the distal triangular fossas and goes obliquely, and it continues with the lingual developmental groove which reaches the lingual surface of the crown. And there is a transverse groove which crosses the oblique ridge, and the accessory groove or the irregular developmental groove or the fifth cusp groove which is present between the fifth cusp and the mesiolingual cusp. So there are 6 developmental grooves. One is the central groove, buccal and the lingual developmental groove, transverse groove, distal oblique groove, and the fifth cusp groove. So there are 6 developmental grooves that can be appreciated in the maxillary first molar. Next, we're coming to pits. There are 3 pits in the maxillary first molar. One is the central pit, mesial pit, and distal pit. Central pit is located in the deepest part of the central fossa, and the mesial and the distal pits are located in the deepest part of the mesial and the distal triangular fossas. So there are 3 pits: central and mesial and distal pits. So now how we can differentiate between right and left maxillary molars? So based on the oblique ridge and the buccolingual dimension, which is greater in the mesial aspect, based on these 2 features only, we'll be able to differentiate whether it is right or a left permanent maxillary tooth. So based on these 2 features only, we can differentiate whether it is right or a left maxillary molar. So coming to the key points. So maxillary first molar is the largest teeth in maxillary arch and is the first posterior tooth to erupt, and it is roughly rhomboidal in outline in the occlusal surface, whereas in the buccal aspect it is roughly trapezoidal in outline. And the fifth cusp is also known as accessory cusp or cusp of Carabelli. And the characteristic feature which we can appreciate in the occlusal surface is the oblique ridge, which runs mainly from the distal ridge of the mesiolingual cusp, which crosses the occlusal surface obliquely to the triangular ridge of the distobuccal cusp. And there are 3 well-formed roots can be seen. The palatal root is the longest, and the 4 well-developed cusp can be appreciated. Among them, mesiolingual cusp is the largest, and the distolingual cusp is the smallest. And there are 4 fossa, 6 grooves, and 3 pits, and 4 major ridges can be appreciated in the occlusal surface. When compared to the anteriors, the cervico-occlusal dimension of the tooth is less, whereas in anteriors it is greater. But in posteriors, the buccolingual dimension is greater when compared to the anteriors. So these are the key points that has to be noted for a maxillary first molar. Coming to clinical consideration, because of the presence of pit, fissures, grooves, it is more prone for dental caries, mainly pit and fissure caries. And because of the longest root, the palatal root is in close approximation with the floor of the sinus. So any infection, it can rupture the floor of the sinus, and the infection may spread to the maxillary sinus. And as it is a keystone of occlusion, it mainly helps in the development of occlusion and helps in maintaining the vertical dimension of the maxillary and mandibular arch. Thank you.